Welcome to Peace Arvada YouTube. We hope you enjoy this message.
I want to encourage you to go ahead and get out the outlines located at the end of the pew. And as you're doing that, a lot of people have said, I really love when you do that because I can write stuff down, I can share it with others, it embeds my memory better. So I encourage you to do that. Even if you just fill in the blanks, that's absolutely fine. At least you have kind of a basis to review the message that we have today, the rest of the week. So I'm talking about anger this morning. And we are surrounded in this culture by a lot of angry people. How many of you see that almost on a daily basis? Raise your hand, right? Out of the workplace, out of the shopping mall, people are really ticked off. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. Although I think when we work through this message today, you'll have a pretty good idea that listen to this, as Christianity declines in America, anger is on the rise. Did you hear that? As Christianity declines in America, anger in people's lives increases. I got my own story to tell you about that. I was driving to get some stuff at King Soopers, and I was turning left into King Soopers, and there was a person coming out of the parking lot. I clearly had signaled, but he pulled out in front of me anyway. And as I went and finished my turn, he looked at me, and I could read his lips, and I can't say what he said to me right now, but it had the F-bomb in it, and then he gave me the one finger salute, and I'm going, and I looked and I said, wow. Really? It wasn't even my fault. And you said that to me. What I just shared with you, that happens to us all the time. We're surrounded by angry people. Some of you in the pew here today are surrounded by angry people. And that angry person may be you. And so we got to ask the question, what fuels this anger? Why does it happen? What do we do to get rid of it? So here's the first point I want you to write down. Anger happens when something valuable is taken from us. And I read this book regarding anger. It's by Andy Stanley, and I read it and I thought, how do I boil down this thing called anger? Because it's seemingly such a complex issue, but really it can be boiled down to one simple fundamental fact. That anger happens when something valuable to you is taken away. Anger happens when something valuable to you is taken away. Let me give you an example. You show me an angry person, and I'll show you in that person's life something valuable is not there anymore. It might be a marriage, it might be a reputation, it might be a relationship, it might be a job, it might be a family member that is left. It might be the best years of their life. Something that they once valued in their life, that they once had, now has been taken away. And as a result of that, they feel incredible anger. And here's the problem. They take it out on everybody around them, who are innocent victims, if you will. Who get the anger, the volcano of this, and it just erupts, and it's poured out on them. And these attitudes, the attitude of these people who get so angry, and you may be that person, by the way, is life owes me. This person hurt me, and they owe me. And so they spend a lot of time waiting for that debt to be paid back to them, and it never can be. Why? Because the damage is done. The train has left the station. The person that hurt you now is remarried, or has left the state, or can't hire you back, or can't fix the situation. It's done. It's over. And it's time to move on. But the problem is, many times we can't. And there's a reason for that. And I'm going to get into that here in just a few minutes, what the reasons are. Why so oftentimes people are so angry. Now here's the problem. If you're angry, as I said before, you oftentimes take it out on your loved ones. Something happened in your past, some hurt was inflicted upon you, but you take it out on innocent victims, and they wonder, where in the world did that come from? And they oftentimes will say, why did you do that to me? And they just become a scapegoat for your anger. Here's something I want you to make sure you understand. Everybody in life gets hurt at one time or another. Everybody in life gets hurt at one time or another and has every reason, at least for a short time, to be angry. But the difference between those who stay angry and those who don't is what I'm going to be teaching you today. Because if you carry out these fundamental things that I talked about today, the anger will dissipate. It will be gone. And that is important. Here's the next point I want to share with you. If you are angry, you have a story to tell. Something hurt you, something was inflicted upon you in your past, and you have a story to tell. Something is deeply embedded in your heart, some horrible thing that happened to you, and you have a story to tell. Here's the question: why don't you tell it? Why don't you talk to somebody about it? Many times people don't do that. You see, if we tell our story, if we talk to someone else about what has happened to us, it takes away its potency. It takes away the excuse that we oftentimes have to remain angry. But you see, what we do is we think, well, it's just too uncomfortable for me to share my story, and so we don't. And we stew in our anger. Here's the thing. If you tell your story to someone, you're one story away from a healthy heart, a cleansed life, a healed mind, a renewed soul. Now, I'm not talking about just telling your story and telling it and telling it and telling it so that you can build up all these people who feel sorry for you. You tell this story, they say, well, I'd be angry too. That's justifiable anger. I'd be angry too. And then you go on and you tell another person, you tell another person, tell another person, and they just carry out that anger for you. You feel so bad, and you've told that story so often, they side with you, and it just fuels the fire. It adds more hurt to the anger, and so you just continue to tell your story so that people might feel sorry for you, and you might play the victim card. That's not what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about telling your story, I'm talking about talking to a friend or a pastor or someone who's very close to you that you can share this with. And then once you've done that, you let it go. You don't talk about it anymore. They've heard the story. They've empathized with you. They feel bad. Hopefully they've directed you to Christ, which I'm going to do here in a little bit. But they encourage you then to let it go. If you tell your story and you tell it once, and someone empathizes with you and comforts you and prays with you and asks God to bless you and give you strength to carry on, then you let it go. You see? That's how you get rid of the anger. Everybody who's angry has a story to tell. And my encouragement to you today is tell it to someone you trust, and you'll feel better. Now, if I were a secular counselor, that's where secular counseling has to stop. Because unless it's a Christian counselor, they can't go on and tell you what I'm about to tell you. Because when you dump your load, when you share this emotional baggage, when you share the hurt of your past, and that person works you through it, and they hear your story, and they empathize with you, and they tell you to move on with your life, that's fine and dandy. However, it's almost impossible unless we go the next step. And you're probably thinking, well, what's the next step, Pastor Dave? What are you talking about? Ephesians 4, 31 and 32 tells us what the next step is. Go ahead and look at verse 31. Let's read it together. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Who wrote this? St. Paul did. Where did he write it from? Was he on a cushy beach with a tropical drink in his hand as he's writing this? No, he's in prison. He's been treated poorly. It hasn't been fair. He hasn't been given a fair shake. And so he can be angry very much so about having to be in prison as a result of his newfound faith in Jesus Christ. But he chooses not to be angry. He tells those in the Ephesian congregation, if you're angry, you got to get rid of it. Now, I want to tell you, how many times have you been angry and people say, just get over it? Has anybody ever said that to you? Raise your hand. Is that helpful? No. But you know what? If you get angry, you got to get rid of it. Now, I want to tell you, how many times have you been angry and people say, just get over it? Has anybody ever said that to you? Raise your hand. Is that helpful? No. Is that helpful? No. But you know what? If you get angry and people say, just get over it, Do you know why? I mean, can you imagine stopping at verse 31? These people in Ephesus read this, get rid of all anger, wrath, malice, slander, all these different things. Boom, that's it. And he doesn't go any further? Can you imagine how empty counseling that would be? But he goes on further. And he says, here's the key to getting over your anger. It's not just getting rid of this. There's a power source. There is an encouraging factor. There's a battery, if you will, that enables you to get rid of your anger and slander and malice. What is it? It's found in verse 32. Look at it. Read it with me if you would. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ forgave you. Isn't that interesting? Be kind and tender-hearted. And then he says, forgive one another. And then he says, here's the key. The key is God's forgiveness that you received in Jesus Christ. He's saying, once you know God's forgiveness, once you've embraced what God has done for you through His Son, Jesus Christ, then you can be kind and tenderhearted and compassionate. Then you can get rid of anger, wrath, malice, slander, and all the things He mentions in verse 31. You see, it works backwards. He's saying, if you know Christ and you know that forgiveness, you can be, by the power of the Holy Spirit, kind and tenderhearted. Now, here's the problem. Many times we underestimate the power of the gospel. The power of the gospel to make us new. The power of the gospel to cleanse us from sin. The power of the gospel to make us new people so that we don't carry this emotional baggage of anger with us throughout our life. You see, I think oftentimes we underestimate the incredible sacrifice that was necessary to take away God's wrath towards us. And here's how we understand it. Jesus told a powerful story in Matthew chapter 18 about the unmerciful servant. It goes like this. He said there was a servant who owed the master millions of dollars. And the master said, it's time for you to pay up. And the servant said, oh, please, let me pay back. Give me time. I don't want to go to prison. And the master canceled the debt of millions of dollars completely. He said, you don't have to pay. I canceled the debt. You don't owe me a thing. It's gone. Now what happens? Anybody know? A fellow servant comes to him and owes him just a few dollars. And this forgiven servant says to the servant who owes him a few dollars, pay back every red cent. Pay back every penny, or you got to go to jail. And this guy pleads with him, but he won't forgive him. He won't forgive the debt. Instead, he throws him in jail. Now, some other servants go to the master and they say, you're not going to believe what happened. That guy who you forgave millions of dollars of debt for, he turned around and he wouldn't forgive the debt of a few dollars to his fellow servant. The master was so upset, he comes to the person and says, did I not cancel your debt? And he says, I throw you in prison. Then the application is this. So will God deal with you unless you forgive your neighbor from the heart. Now let me make this crystal clear. What did we owe God? God has told us, be perfect as I, the Lord your God, am perfect. We owe Him a perfect life, complete and total obedience to the Ten Commandments. That's what we are supposed to do. And yet, God, in His incredible mercy, amazing grace, has canceled our debt. We owe Him the debt of a perfect life. We haven't done that. He canceled the debt for the sake of Jesus. He allows His Son Jesus to go to the cross. He lays our sin upon His Son. Not only that, the anger that we deserve because of our wrongs, life in hell because of our wrongs, He lays on Jesus, His Son. Jesus takes away our sin. Our debt is canceled, and we're free and forgiven and at peace with God because what Jesus has done for us, and God, through Jesus, canceling our debt completely, wholly, fully, incredibly. Listen to this, guys. We owe God a perfect life. And we've broken His commands day in and day out. And God says, it's done. Yea, it's right. The debt is paid. It's over. Not going to hold it against you. You get off scot-free. anger towards someone who's hurt us in the past. And we say, they owe me, and they can't pay it back. You see, when we look at forgiveness through the lens of the cross of Jesus Christ, it's so much simpler to forgive others who have hurt us. It's so much simpler to get rid of the anger, to get rid of anger, wrath, rage, slander, and all that kind of stuff, to live kind and tender-hearted lives, to be compassionate towards others, because God has forgiven our debt for the sake of His Son. Now we turn around and that seemingly insignificant, comparatively speaking, debt that other people owe to us, we cancel it. It's the only way to live. Let me say that again. It's the only way to live. You can exist by doing it the other way, or you can't live. So here's the key to getting rid of anger. Here it is. Fill it in. It's a summary of the sermon. Tell your story and forgive those who hurt you from the heart. It's real simple. Get out the angst of that hurt that's been inflicted upon you by other people, other circumstances. Maybe, there's a lot of people who go through life angry at God. Right? They're so angry about someone dying in their life, or so angry about getting an unfair shake, or so angry that their parents divorced, or so angry about something they blame God. And they live under the weight of all this anger, and it oftentimes spills out in inappropriate ways to people who don't deserve it. It's just no way to live. So let me remind you, if you have a story to tell from deep impact hurt of your past, talk to somebody about it. Pastor Tim and I are here to help you. And I want to tell you, when people come into our offices and they tell us their stuff, number one, we don't share it with anybody else. We never do. Number two, we're never shocked by what we hear. And if you come into my office and you share something that you're really angry about, I'm never going to say, and Pastor Tim is never going to say, well, I can't believe you're that angry. Or when you tell us something, we're not going to go, oh, man, I've never felt that way. We're not going to do that. We're not going to judge you, criticize you. And if you don't want to come to us, go to a Christian counselor, go to someone you trust, and dump that baggage. Tell them your story. And then if you're the one to whom the story is being told, tell them to let go. And then what? Cancel the debt. Cancel the debt of those who have hurt you. Cancel it. They can't repay you. Yes, they owe you, but they're never going to be able to pay it back. Just cancel it. That means you just say, I'm not going to harbor this anymore. I'm going to cover you with grace and love and forgiveness as I expect you to do with me, and I'm just going to let it go. Canceling the debt. You don't owe me a thing. I cover you with grace and love and forgiveness and compassion. We move forward now together in our relationship, and if they're not in your life, you move forward, not harboring this anger anymore. You let it go. You've given it to Christ. You're walking in newness of life. You're letting the fruit of the Spirit just spill out in other people's lives, which is love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness and self-control. You get rid of malice, slander, all that kind of stuff. You walk kind and tender-hearted lives. Why? Because God in Jesus Christ has forgiven you. And you're free to live as God intended you to live. I got a lot of this sermon, I got to say, from a guy by the name of Andy Stanley. How many of you have heard of Andy Stanley? Pastor Tim and I read his book. Talks about breaking free from jealousy, greed, anger, and guilt. That's where we're getting a lot of this sermon from. And he tells a powerful story in there about speaking at a seminar, sharing some of the same principles I shared with you today. And this lady came through the line at the end of his message. He was greeting people, and she came in and she said this. I want to tell you, I was abused sexually in my teen years. I don't want to say who it is, but I was. And after that, for 20 years, I harbored anger towards every man in my life. I couldn't hardly talk to men. I couldn't trust men. I had all this anger towards men. And she said, today you've told me that I have to tell my story, and I'm going to do that. And today you've told me that I have to release the debt that they owe me by just knowing that I'm forgiven in God's eyes, that I'm forgiven because of Christ, and therefore I have no choice but to release the debt of others. She said, for the first time in my life, I'm free. My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, may you leave this place today saying the very same thing. I'm free. Tell your story. Your debt is paid by Christ. Release the debt owed to you. Release that debt to others. Amen?
Thank you for joining us. If you're ever in the Arvada area, we would love to welcome you in person. We have services at 8 and 10:30.